census taker is out.
I don't have those. I don't have Sacred's numbers.
Are you live here?
Almost, but just telling you guys what's going on.
We are live.
Okay.
So live.
All right. Good morning. Sorry about that. We were efforting to get one of the providers. We were efforting to get their information, their numbers over the weekend for COVID. We've been working with the same people. They do an amazing job. They've been doing it for 18 months, and I guess sometimes when they go out of town, we somehow miss it. I got sent back an email this morning about 8 o'clock that the individual was not there, and so they were trying to check and figure out what happened, who's got them, and get those census numbers to us as soon as we will. We do have two of the hospitals. They're essentially flat, but we're waiting on the third, and we would have those numbers to give to you. Obviously, the most significant thing right now, for any of you who, I know I'm looking around at the room, and this is probably the least amount of people we've had here. I do see the dedicated news sources that are here, but it was very challenging to drive this morning coming in. Obviously, we are having street flooding. We're very concerned. According to the National Weather Service, scattered to numerous showers and storms are expected through Wednesday as a weak front moves into the area and washes out over the area. Localized flash flooding is possible through Wednesday, but there is increasing concern for potential flash flooding in the Monday through Wednesday timeframe across south central Alabama and western Florida, northwest Florida. The rain today and Monday will potentially saturate the soils for potential flooding on Tuesday, so we'll be watching the rainfall closely over the next 2 days. Always remember to turn around, don't drown, never drive into a flooded roadway. A mere 6 inches of fast-moving flood water can knock over an adult, and take just 12 inches of rushing water to carry away most cars. Just 2 feet of rushing water can carry an SUV and trucks, so it's never safe to drive into flood waters, and I would recommend that. I think we know most of the places that are challenging. I just drove in. I had a chance to see some of the places. For the most part, I mean, certainly there was some water on the road, but even the areas where I saw water on the road, I saw inlets taking in the water. So for the most part, things are functioning. Obviously, the rate of rainfall is exceeding sometimes our capacity to get it picked up and get it moved off. So again, we ask you to have precaution at this time. We did notice, and I have talked to David Forte about some silt issues we saw here in the downtown area with 2 developments, and we mentioned to them that we need to make contact with those builders and make sure they can secure their area with silt fencing and so forth. So we saw that at 2 different places, so we're all on top of that. If you see other stuff, please let us know, and we will get to that. Certainly, again, we ask that you look at the weather and continue to be taking precautions for the next 2 days, as it looks like we're going to have a very wet next 2 days. There is some good news. ECUA recycling update. Last week we received an update from ECUA that they are making progress in the repairs and are close to resuming operations. The projected time for reopening the facility is the first half of October, so probably you need to get back to doing the right thing with your collections and putting them in the right can. This probably will be the last week that we pick up, hopefully, and we're not doing recycling. So again, I would be ready and have your cans ready to go for not this week, but next week's pickup. Start doing the right things that you need to, because especially for those of you who have a Monday pickup, really this week for you will be, because you'll get picked up next Monday. So again, start thinking about getting back to being good with your recyclables. We will. We're very happy about this. As previously announced, the Pensacola City Sanitation Department uses ECUA's recycling facility to process its materials. Due to damage from a fire in July, the City of Sanitation customers have been temporarily on hold since ECUA's facility is not accepting recyclables. The tan recycling cans for Pensacola sanitation customers are continuing to be collected, but the materials are not recycled until ECUA's recycling facility opens, which will hopefully, as we said, the first half of October. So the City of Pensacola thanks the public for their patience during this time. Please stay tuned to the City of Pensacola website and Facebook page for updates. We look forward to ECUA facility reopening this month, and we would encourage all of you to begin, again, diligent recycling efforts and back to the discipline of getting it in the right can, because starting next week we will be probably recycling. The CRA receives a statewide recognition for its annual report. The City of Pensacola CRA was recently honored at the annual report award for fiscal 2020. The annual report for the 2021 Florida Redevelopment Association's Award. The FRA awards are presented each year at the association's annual conference. The City of Pensacola's CRA 36-page annual report comprised an overview of the CRA's work within the urban core, west side, and east side redevelopment areas. Congratulations to the CRA team. To learn more and view the report, visit cityofpensacola.com. I have a town hall scheduled for October 19th. As we see COVID numbers continuing to decline, we thought this would be a good time for us. We haven't done one in a while. We've been trying to figure out the right time with where we are with COVID, and we feel like based on seeing now how these laws sort of work out, this is the right time for us to go ahead and calendar one. So we put one on for Tuesday, October 19th at 5:30 at Woodland Heights Resource Center. That's at 111 Berkeley Drive. All members of the community are encouraged to attend and to provide their input. After pausing town halls for the COVID-19, I'm looking forward to getting back out face-to-face with citizens. So we look forward to seeing you, if you can, at Woodland Heights on October 19th. The city completes 17th Avenue crosswalk improvements. If you saw that, very happy to see those. We had a chance to move so we could reopen the turn lane that comes up 17th. The City of Pensacola Public Works and Facilities crews have completed the improvements at 17th Avenue for the crosswalk into Miraflores Park. The new and improved crosswalk is located on 17th Avenue between Larua and Belmont. The improvements include replacing striping, installation of flashing crosswalk signs, and replacement of the ramps at the crossing location, and reestablishment of the northbound turn lane from 17th onto Larua. Drivers are reminded to always look out for pedestrians and to yield for pedestrians in crosswalks. We certainly, this is another one of those things where we're trying to make it more bike and pedestrian friendly. The work that we've been doing, appreciate all the work, David, within your department over there in Public Works, getting that done. So we're happy about that. Garden Street Lane closure extended, obviously with the weather, it maybe even extended a little bit beyond. Temporary lane closure on the section of West Garden between North Jefferson and North Tarragona has been extended due to weather delays. The impact is now expected to reopen on Friday, October 8th. The lane closure has been impacting the westbound north side of Garden Street. With the weather we're having this week, it wouldn't surprise me if that goes on to the following week, but hopefully we're going to get some sunshine after Wednesday and they can finish this up at the end of this week, first of next week, and get that done. The Pensacola Fire Department is teaming up with National Fire Prevention Association to promote this year's fire prevention campaign, Learn the Sounds of Fire Safety. This year's campaign, October 3rd, works to educate everyone about simple but important actions they can take to keep themselves and those around them safe. The Pensacola Fire Department is hosting a series of events in support of this year's Fire Prevention Week campaign. To learn more, we ask you to stay tuned to the Pensacola Fire Department's Facebook page or at the cityofpensacola.com, and we will get that information out. At this particular time for COVID numbers, like I said, we are still waiting. We are awaiting that, but I will say the positivity rate for this past week has dropped now to 11.9%. That's much more in a reasonable point that I think will get us back to the numbers we were expecting that will be inside 100. On Friday we were at 117. I expect us to be fairly flat, somewhere between 117 and 100, but we haven't gotten the other information from one of the hospitals, so as soon as we get that, we will place that in there and get that information to you, and we'll have it on our website. The monoclonal antibody site continues to remain open. If you end up coming down with COVID, we ask you to quickly go there. If you can get treatment, it's at Bayview Community Center. It's open 7 days a week from 9 to 5. Appointments can be scheduled by visiting patientportalfl.com. Walk-ups are also accepted at the Bayview Community Center, which is located again at 2001 East Lloyd Street. So we highly encourage you to take advantage of that as well. A couple other things that are here that continue to happen over the weekend that we want to talk about. Obviously, we've been telling you for a long time, almost a year, that we are working through things, and ask your patience as we work and get Hurricane Sally repair done. Most of the repair went fairly fast, and except at the waterfront where we had our most significant impact, where that was more significant cost. And again, we certainly worked with FEMA to be able to prevent, because we know it's not a question of if, it's just a question of when we'll have a next storm. We saw areas that have had significant improvement and strengthening, did much better than older areas. So we continue to ask for any improvements that we could have made. Unfortunately, some of those have been denied through the process, but for the most part, we have gotten everybody back open, and I think we've got the approvals, David, for all of them, and we're starting to go to bid. Are we still waiting on any of the approvals from FEMA?
Just a couple, but we're very confident they'll be very soon.
So David is saying we're very confident we'll have soon all FEMA approvals and ready to go forward. We'll expect to be bringing some bids on other projects. I will say there are a couple projects that are looking ready to go. One of them is Bayview Park. We've been under construction. It was supposed to be open this past weekend. Obviously, some of the weather delays, both back in September and this week, will probably delay that to the following week. We were hoping to have it done by October 8th, but I imagine with the weather this week, it could be next week before we finish, but we're close. We're already under construction at Sanders Beach, so that will be coming out. And like I said, we expect very shortly to have something to council at both Maritime Park and DeLuna Plaza, and I believe then Wayside Park will be our kind of last one in getting those, and there's certainly the construction of the bridge. Our hope is that all of these things will be open by the spring next year, and we will get these things replaced. We sustained probably $20 million worth of damage that was uninsured, that was to our infrastructure. The good news is FEMA pays for 75%. The state pays for another 12.5%. But that does leave us with 12.5%, which on $20 million is just over $2 million. So we want to make sure we minimize that impact to you, the taxpayers. We would love to have worked faster through this process. We hate that we missed kind of a year, but we tried to work as much as we could to be able to utilize all the parks that we have as best we could with the conditions they're in. We obviously realized they were not what we would want them to be, but we ask you to please work with us and be patient as we continue to get those things operated. It is our expectation that we should have all those open by the spring of 2022. So again, I think you'll see it back open by the time we're all ready to get back out and see good weather. We should be back open and have those things ready to go. So we are diligently working on getting all those things repaired, and I did want to update you on that. Lastly, today it was submitted last week. It's been put into the queue, and so next Monday and next Thursday it will be discussed. Parcels here, and I think we're going to have something we can pass out to all of you on it. We did meet. We had some discussions the first time we met with the group. Those really didn't go anywhere. The second time we met, we just kind of said, hey, bring us what you've got. So what you see submitted is kind of what has been presented. We certainly appreciate Carson Lovell and Greg Darden, their group, putting forward an MOU, and we certainly understand the things that they went through to put through this MOU, and I think it certainly, I appreciate their willingness to think outside the box and give us something different. However, unlike previous proposals for other Maritime Park properties, this specific property, which is 4 and 5, the submission is not a predominantly private development that would incorporate a publicly funded parking garage. This proposes a mostly public funded project that would develop that they would develop as a consultant on a fee basis. The city would fund and own the buildings constructed on the property and receive rent or use payments from building tenants and users. The MOU requests a 180-day period to perform an initial due diligence study to include a new master plan, pro forma timeline, a market analysis and financing study. While Carson Lovell would initially pay for these expenses, the city would eventually pay for up to $100,000 for the work, either as a reimbursement if the city chooses not to move forward on the project, or as part of the development investment on the project as the owner, if the owner does move forward, which is the city. As you know, 4 of the 7 council members voted to authorize the first negotiated with Carson Lovell to arrive to these terms, which believed in the best, which they believed in the best interest of the taxpayers. In subsequent public meetings, most, if not all, the council members stated they were only interested in moving forward if the development proposal was ultimately made financial sense for the city in light of the current market conditions. We've asked, based on these proposals we've received, as well as maritime parcels that have been developed, we do not believe that this development and deal structure is in the city's best interest. The city has previously invested significantly in the creation of the Maritime Park based on 3 multiple studies, recommendations to the public for public investment, the need to create park amenities and spur private development and economic activity. The investment succeeded as the park now is an active multi-use stadium, protects waterfront access, large public green space, amphitheater, playground, breakwater, and soon to be a public marina, as well as 2 privately developed rent-paying tenants, which is Maritime Park Place and 151 Main Street. Infrastructure for the still vacant parcel development parcels and 2 other private developments under option for the city for the other maritime properties. In addition, there are private developers that wish to develop parcels 4 and 5 for private development funds. Thus, I do not think the city is in the position where it needs to further subsidize development to the extent called in the Carson level proposal. We'll be bringing it forward to the council and recommending a rejection of it. We just don't think it's consistent with what's been there, but we certainly understand and appreciate thinking outside the box, but in no way, obviously, we have no funding source, no anything at this particular time. And again, this will be something that will be purely on the backs of the taxpayers, and moving forward beyond this, as you can see in the thing, puts us at exposure to actually taxpayer dollars if we choose not to move forward. So at this time, we would recommend, unlike all the other parcels that were really no risk to the city, at this particular time, we think this is not the right direction for where we've been, and that's what the recommendation will be. And I wanted all of you to see it and have a chance to let your listeners, let your viewers, let your readers check it out and see their thoughts, because we've certainly put a significant amount of public investment in that property already, and I don't think at this time we're looking to we don't really have a funding source for any additional funding at this particular time. But again, that's sort of where we are at this time. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and any questions you might have. Thank you for being here this morning. Andrew.
The change on mask guidance for vaccinated persons at City Hall, was that based on advice from the hospital leaders or something that you came up with?
It was based on a little bit of both. We did talk with the hospitals. They are back into a manageable, they've indicated they are where they're manageable. Certainly at 11% positivity rate, these are back into numbers that are within things that we can operate within. So we tried to be flexible and do some things to move that off. So again, that's what we're trying to do. As of last Friday, we really took mask altogether. There's no mask wearing requirement here at City Hall or any city facilities at this particular time.
And that's the same kind of guidance. You said it was partially you, but they gave you that advice?
We did talk with them. We ultimately make the decision, but it's based off their advice. Correct. I mean, there's a point where we can still, and several of you already had masks in here, and some of you still have masks on. I mean, we're not going to ask you to remove your mask. So at no time do we do that. But again, it's kind of a case of a year ago when we were in September, and I said we're going to come to these peaks and valleys, and we got to learn how to be disciplined and put on the mask when we hit a peak, and we're going to need to relax and figure it out, because that's the best way for us to get. Otherwise, people just get fatigue on wearing it, and you get this non-compliance and frustration that we've all dealt with for at least the last year in trying to work with it. I only want to make people wear a mask when I know we got a real problem and the hospitals are telling us what's there. There's no doubt that they say, hey, being a mask, it does provide protection if you want to do it. We highly encourage you, but at this particular time, we have taken that mask mandate off, seeing where we are with hospitalizations and the comfort. I think these hospitalization numbers where we used to be about 50, now it's about 100. But in talking with the hospitals, they've learned how to better flex up and take down. Right now, they're in kind of they feel like they're essentially in green. Once we get under 100, they feel very manageable in what they can do. and the positivity rate trending down like it is, they've also realized that COVID is going to be something we're dealing with. We're always going to be dealing with. So there are always going to be people in the hospital with COVID. It's just going to be a part of the new normal. But I think we have to be able to flex up and back with masks when we need them. And I think the ability to get compliance when we have spikes is really dependent on us relaxing when we no longer have a threatening situation.
On the Hurricane Sally repairs, you said some things were the improvements to infrastructure were denied. Can you give me a little bit more specific about?
I know we made the requirement on, we asked for the repair work to the breakwater out there on at Palafox Pier. We asked for that. I think there were some other things we may have asked for, and David has left. But we'll work with Casey to get David to get that information. But I know there were some things we had wanted to do on the breakwaters. Some of them, I mean, not just the bulkheads, I guess. We had wanted to do some things to harden them a little bit more. But obviously, what we've ultimately been given permission at various places is to go back with what we had. We had the same thing at Bayview, where we're about to be done with the Bayview improvements, and we're under construction already at Sanders Beach. So, I mean, all of these had different levels of things we might ask for in improvements, because it's not a question of when we'll have the next. It's not a question of if we'll have the next storm. It's really a question of when. At this point, we need to prepare, and what has shown us is the better we do at preparing that bulkhead, the better off it is protecting all the assets as we go inland, and not only those just right along the water, but all the way up, probably past Intendencia Street. So again, the better off we can do to protect what's going on down there, I feel like is better for us. We certainly asked for things, but we'll get those. I'll get David to make sure we put that in there. Yes.
Mayor, could you give us your personal assessment as the mayor of how the scooter program is going?
There are good parts and bad parts, and I think we're seeing some of that. I think there's no doubt that some of the mobility options it offers are very good, and for the most part, it's kind of worked. There are a couple of things I think we need to reevaluate as we get to the end of the pilot. I think we will make some recommendations. The one of which is, we had different groups. The first group that ever came in and talked to us was Blue Duck. And Blue Duck did not come forward. It's a different one. But Blue Duck said, hey, we'll shut all these scooters off at 10 o'clock. And I kind of was like, why would you do that? People still need to go home. They're like, if you're on a scooter at past 10 o'clock, 10 p.m., you're probably impaired. And we've seen, and we've had issues that have happened, and I think it might be better for everyone if we maybe looked at something like that was a time limit cutoff, just because of some of those challenges. We've seen stuff happen. I mean, we have city facilities have cameras, and so we've seen accidents occur in the middle of the night, and sometimes there are more accidents, and sometimes there are more people doing crazy things they probably shouldn't have been doing on a scooter that they might not have thought about doing if it had been before 10 o'clock. So, those are things we'll look at. But there's no doubt there's a success part to it. There's a challenge to it as well. I think one of the things that we were very concerned with is the way the scooters would just be left. I want to commend the groups that have done it, and their employees have done a good job, I think, of making sure that they're not blocking street corners, that they're put up in an orderly position. I'm not saying we haven't seen any that have been a problem, but I mean, those have been few and far between. Usually if I go by somewhere, they're standing up just like they're supposed to in a row, ready for people to get. So there are some things that we came into this that we were concerned about that have not turned out to pan out to be a concern. There are some things that we didn't think about that have been a concern. And I would really say some of the bigger challenges have been later at night when we may need to think about the usage of the scooters. So, it's just been one of those things that we've looked at and we've noticed. And if we tweak it, I think that's it. But there's no doubt there's been success. And there's no doubt there's been challenges.
Mayor, on the Community Maritime Park, does the city, have y'all done any kind of analysis or comparison between the private offers that are out there on these parcels and this parcel for how much like revenue will be?
I mean, we certainly can. We certainly could do that. I mean, I think if you go back to the original one that we got from Silver Hills, we were bringing in 17 million. There was a little bit of challenge over taxes over time. There was a period that they wanted some. We never fully got that to make that comparison, but we can kind of put something together. The one thing I think is important in the Carson Lovell deal, they have always been about a parking garage, and perhaps with Greg Darden, there's probably no better expert that the city has worked with themselves for parking. So we absolutely understand and we agree with them. The challenge is it was going to cost us upwards of 19 million for a 900 car garage. Now we're being told with the potential of a conference center, looking it over with Amy Lavoie and looking at code with Sherry and talking about $1,300 1,300 parking spaces. So if you multiply that out, you're going to be in the 20 millions of dollars for just the parking, not even getting to the convention center yet. And we have no money. We have no funding source. We have nothing at this particular time. So based on that, I'm not sure where we go forward. On this particular time. For me, I just don't think this is the right deal at the right time. We've put an awful lot of public sector, money into it. The whole idea was to return back with something that generated some kind of return back to the citizens, and I think that's been the difference on this proposal. We had a lot. The first time we met with them, we said this is kind of a round hole square peg, and I would have rather given the council the choice between the two. It just didn't seem to go that way. That isn't where the negotiations wanted to go with the group. We kept making, the first time we probably didn't make as much when we just decided, hey, Andrew's here. We just decided let's let them bring forward their proposal. We'll get their proposal. We'll present it to council, and we'll give it to everybody to let them see where we are. And I would say we're probably anywhere from 30 plus million difference between these two proposals. That's just on what we get return. If you really then put the expenditure out there, it could be, you're looking at a $50 million delta from getting money to giving money, and it's just, I'm not blaming Carson Lovell. I mean, they brought forward an idea. I think there was some confusion with council, and they assumed that somehow all this was going to be paid for, and Carson Lovell has told us very clearly, we're not going to build this at risk. If the council said this is what they wanted, these are the amenities they wanted, we're happy to do those on a consultant basis and get them built. We think they can be very positive. Obviously, the parking garage is something everybody can agree to. The Carson Lovell group, the city, and everybody else believes very good. The question is, how do you finance it? And right now, what's being proposed in front of you is strictly all taxpayer funded. Anything else? All right. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll see you next Monday. Stay safe. Again, it is very likely that roads could be saturated for the next 2 days, so be very careful. We'll continue to see you out there and look forward to seeing you next week here. Thanks.